On average, Formula E sees about 4 new drivers join the grid full-time each year. Some struggle to adapt to the series and vanish after just a season or two, while others find success and remain mainstays within the series. In this video, we'll be having a look at 2 drivers who came onto the Formula E scene and immediately hit the ground running: Felix Rosenqvist and Jake Dennis. Both had remarkable rookie seasons, each winning their first race, scoring their first pole, scoring multiple podiums, leading some of the most laps out of any driver in their respective season, and both finishing 3rd in the season standings. But whose rookie season was better, and thus, who had the best rookie season out of any driver in Formula E history? Discounting season 1, of course, because they were obviously all rookies. Let's start with Felix Rosenqvist. The Swede joined Formula E in Season 3 at the Mahindra team, replacing Bruno Senna, who had only managed 11th in the Season 2 standings. He qualified and was running 6th in his first race at Hong Kong when he lost the rear end of his car and hit the barriers, finishing 15th. The next race at Marrakesh, however, he scored his first ever pole and held the lead for the first 26 laps of the race. He was, however, passed by Sebastian Buemi and eventually Sam Bird late in the race, but still scored an exceptional P3. At Buenos Aires in Mexico, he ran at the top 10 for most of the race, but fell out late due to an electrical issue and airborne crash, respectively. He finished 6th the next race at Monaco and 4th in Paris. After qualifying P3 in Berlin, Rosenqvist took advantage of race leader Lucas di Grassi's mistakes and swept around the outside of the Audi in turn 1, pulling away to take his first career victory. He followed that up with a pole the next day and was leading when the Mahindra team had a mix-up in the pits, losing Rosenqvist time and giving him a 10-second unsafe release penalty. So although Rosenqvist technically crossed the line in first, he dropped down to second after the time was added. After qualifying 17th in New York, Rosenqvist fought all the way to the top 5 when he made a mistake, damaging his car and finishing 15th. The next day he qualified 2nd and led the first 10 laps of the race, but fell back to finish where he started in P2. Heading into Montreal, Rosenqvist was 3rd in points, 53 back from the lead, but technically still in title contention. For race 1, he qualified 4th and was running there when he made a mistake, breaking the steering of his Mahindra, sending him down the order to finish P9 and fall out of title contention. Finally, Rosenqvist took pole and dominated 2/3 of the second race in Montreal, only to lose the lead to Jean-Eric Vergne with under 10 laps to go in the race, finishing P2. Overall, an incredible rookie season for Rosenqvist. 3 poles and 5 podiums, including a victory at Berlin and a P3 points finish, were astounding considering how poor Senna had done in the car before him, and his teammate Nick Heidfeld's P7 in the standings. Although he made a few mistakes, which cost him victories at the second Berlin race, Marrakesh, and Montreal, he was still very consistent with an average finish of 7.8 and an average start of 5.3. In addition, he led the second most laps out of anyone in Season 3 at 131, which is 24 laps shy of eventual runner-up Sebastian Buemi. Now, let's talk about Jake Dennis. Dennis was brought in by BMW Andretti to replace Alexander Sims ahead of Season 7 after a campaign that saw Sims only score 1 podium all season, with a lone victory early in the year. Dennis himself had a rough start to the season. After qualifying P14, he would finish only 2 spots better in P12 for his debut race. A day later, however, he would qualify P17 and would make it as high as P14 before being thrown into a wall by Pascal Wehrlein, retiring with a P23. Another incident in Rome would retire him with a P21, while the next day a powertrain issue would prevent him from setting a single qualifying lap. During the race, however, he'd take advantage of other drivers' incidents to finish P13. Still though, 4 races in and Dennis hadn't scored a single point. The next race weekend in Valencia, however, would turn his season around. He qualified P13 for the first race, and after the energy chaos, he would finish P8, his first points of the season. The next day, however, Dennis would rocket to pole position, 8/10 faster than the second place car. From there, he would cruise off into the sunset, leading every single lap en route to his first career victory. This weekend alone would push him from tied for last in the standings all the way to 7th. At Monaco, he qualified 14th and finished 16th after a first lap incident left him with significant damage to his BMW. He followed that up with 2 fifth-place finishes at the Puebla doubleheader. The NYC doubleheader would yield less success, however, with a P15 qualifying result leading to a race-ending puncture, and a P19 qualifying result leading to a P16 finish. He'd bounce back in resounding fashion, however, qualifying P2 at London and leading every lap to score his second victory of the season at his home race no less. A poor qualifying would lead him to start P17 the next day, but he fought through the field to score a P9 finish. Heading into the final doubleheader weekend in Berlin, Dennis sat 3rd in points, 14 points behind leader Nick de Vries, but still well within championship contention. After qualifying 8th, he'd finish 5th and take advantage of de Vries' struggles. Entering the final race of the season, de Vries led while Dennis sat in P3, only 4 points back now. Dennis would qualify 9th, second among the main title contenders. After title rival Mitch Evans failed to make a getaway, Dennis's left side of the grid start position meant that he'd make it away without trouble, while rival Mortara smashed into the Jaguar, knocking them both out of the title contention. After a safety car period, Dennis and DeVries restarted 8th and 12th respectively, meaning that they were tied for the points lead. On the restart, Dennis suffered an unusual issue with the gearbox of his BMW, causing him to lock up the rear axle and slam into the wall heading into turn 1, forcing him to retire from the race with a P22 finish and officially exit championship contention. I think Dennis's rookie season really highlights how crazy and chaotic the 2020-2021 season truly was. A while ago, I posted this on r/Formula E. These are the average finishes for every driver in Season 7. Notice how no one even cracked the top 10 mark. In addition, eventual champion Nick DeVries had the 15th best average finish. I just think that's absolutely insane. Add that to all the crazy moments we had in Season 7, and I think it's safe to say it was definitely the most unpredictable season in the series' history. Back to Dennis, he ended the season with a P3 in the standings with 2 victories. However, these 2 victories were his only podiums all season. He scored 1 pole, an average start of 11.9, and an average finish of 11.7. And one final fact, Dennis led the most laps out of anyone this season, at 52 laps led. So, who had a better rookie season? At first glance, Dennis's 2 wins stand out, as does his points margin to the eventual champion. Because both drivers finished 3rd in points, the margin to the leader lets us know how competitive they were in comparison to the best driver all season. Dennis's 8-point gap shows that he was actually a lot closer to taking the title than Rosenqvist was. In addition, Dennis was able to lead the most laps in a season and beat teammate Max Gunther by a resounding 13 points in the eventual standings. However, in every other stat, Rosenqvist has him beat. Podiums, Rosenqvist was able to score 3 second-place finishes and a 3rd-place finish in addition to his win. Poles, Rosenqvist earned 3 and converted them all into podiums. Average start and average finish, miles better than Dennis. And when it comes to laps led, Rosenqvist led over double Dennis's amount with 3 less races on the calendar. But again, we have to take into consideration just how different the 2 seasons were overall. Season 3 had 5 different winners over 12 races. Season 7 had a staggering 11 different winners over 15 races. In the final round of Season 3, only the top 2 were eligible for the title. In the final round of Season 7, an astounding 14 drivers were mathematically able to win the championship. The fact of the matter is, Season 7 was a lot more competitive and was a lot harder of a time to come in straight away and do well in Formula E. But we can't discount the quality of racing in the early seasons of Formula E, not to mention how much more diverse that calendar was with only 2 doubleheader weekends. Personally, I think the comparison is a very close one, but I'd give the edge to Rosenqvist this time around. That rookie season was just so consistent. He really didn't look like a rookie out there, and beat the likes of Sam Bird and Jean-Eric Vergne in points. But Dennis's longevity in the sport has eventually grown him into one of, if not the best driver in Formula E right now. I think if Rosenqvist had stayed just a bit longer, he'd have a good shot at the championship too. He definitely had the speed in Season 4, but just didn't have luck on his side that time around. Anyways, let me know what you think in the comments down below. Should the competition of Season 7 give Dennis the edge over Rosenqvist, despite having a much more turbulent season? I'd love to hear what you think down in the comment section down below. Thanks for watching, and I'll see you in the next one.